insurgency. An increasing number of members of the police deserting the force to join.
In October 2018, an image went viral of Adil, a special police officer or SPO posing with Hizbul terrorists. Just a few days earlier, he had fled from guard duty of a former PDP MLA in Srinagar. He took with him 7 AK-47 rifles.
Adil Sheikh has been part of a new dangerous trend in Kashmir. Policemen deserting force with weapons. In last 4 years, 13 J&K police personnel have quit the force and joined militant ranks.
Have vanished, some taken by deserters. Of these, 105 went missing in Burhan Wani. Of the 177 rifles, 70 have been recovered so far. At Adil Sheikh's home in Zainpura village in Shopia in South Kashmir, we meet a family in shock. They say he quit the police because he was angered by the excesses of security forces. Because of information provided by another set of men in khaki, Davinder Singh, the disgraced police officer arrested while transporting 2 terrorists, including Hizbul Mujahideen commander Naveed.
दविंदर अगर गेस्टेड अफसर होके भी पुलिस का वो अपनी जो इस वक्त ही इज मेट हिज फेट अगर उसने मने और जो कानून का दुश्मन है उसके खिलाफ सख्त कार्रवाई की जाए.
But the question that police have to grapple with, why are these men crossing over? Remember, Jammu and Kashmir police is one of the bravest forces in India who have lost 1,700 personnel in their fight against militancy in Kashmir.
The police chief says it's because of the pressure by the terrorists. In 2018, dozens of SPOs or special police officers were forced to resign due to threats by militants.
I would say the overall environment where certain pressures also work and at times your own fallibility also to this kind of pressure, it varies from person to person. But I'm proud that a large force is fighting with absolute grit and confidence, and one odd incident doesn't mean that we are having any weakness.
But the reality may be more complex. We have come to Karimabad in Pulwama, to the home of Nasir Pandit, who was once a police constable. Pandit, who was posted at guard duty of the J&K minister Altaf Bukhari, deserted in 2015, kickstarting this latest wave of police deserters. His father says his son was a crusader against the drug mafia in the area. But the police beat him up in the station, his father says, because the police were hand in glove with the drug mafia. This pushed him to join Hizbul Mujahideen.
अब कानून के रखवालों ने उसे ऐसे सलूक किया तो उसका रास्ता और क्या बच सकता था. शायद वो जज्बात में आकर उसने ये काम किया. ऐसा नहीं करना था. जो को कश्मीर में हर कुछ चलता है, यहाँ पैसों के लिए कुछ भी चलता है. ये तबाही जो कश्मीर में हुई उसका वजह है पैसा.
His father admits his son motivated a large number of young men to join the ranks of militants.
उसमें एक ऐसा कि वो किसी को भी मोटिवेट कर सकता है, क्योंकि उस वक्त जनूबी कश्मीर में कश्मीर में मिलिटेंसी का नाम ही नहीं था. लेकिन नसीर के आने के बाद इसमें भी बढ़ावा आ गया, क्योंकि वो किसी को भी अपने साथ मोटिवेट कर सकता था. ये भी नसीर की ही वजह से बन गई.
ट्रेनिंग कितने लोगों को उसने दी होगी?
मेरे जनूबी कश्मीर में आज भी जो भी हैं या इससे पहले भी थे, उनको ट्रेनिंग दी है.
Nasir Pandit was killed in 2016. Of the 13 deserters, except 2, all have been killed or captured.
Police deserters like Adil Sheikh, Naveed Babu or rogue officers like Davinder Singh do not define Jammu and Kashmir police, but they certainly are defining new dark phase in Kashmir's long-running militancy. In Srinagar, Nazir Masoodi for NDTV.
All right, joining us tonight on Reality Check, we have with us Kuldeep Khoda, who's former DGP J&K, who's joining us from Jammu. Also joining us, Salman Soz, Congress leader. Here in the studio, Ajay Sahni, expert on counter-terrorism, South Asia Terrorism Portal, and also Vijayta Singh, journalist of The Hindu. So, Ajay, what do you make of this phenomenon, and how do you think it is going to impact the dynamic of the militancy? The fact that you now have police deserters is not something which is astonishingly new, but the fact that it does seem to be an increase of it.
I would not give it very much importance. It's not just a Jammu and Kashmir phenomenon. It has happened in almost every theatre of insurgency. In fact, if you go to Meghalaya, you find that major groups have actually been created and set up by a police deserter in one case. So, I don't think we should be alarmed by this. The numbers are not disturbing. 13 people in 4 years. The circumstances in Jammu and Kashmir also, I think the DG also makes mention of this, that there is tremendous pressure, especially on the SPOs, because they do not have the operational security that a regular police officer would have.
Right. SPOs are the special police officers.
Special police officers.
Yes.
Their families are brought under tremendous pressure. So that kind of thing also operates. And I think Nazir's father came out with a very interesting remark over there. He said, Kashmir mein to sab kuch paise se chalta hai. So there is this whole idea of something that is simply driven by a mercenary orientation.
Right.
And then you will find, again, as in the case of Nazir, individual cases of injustice or abuse by some elements within the state.
Right, where he said that he was beaten up by the police because he was taking on the drug mafia.
Yes, he was taking on the drug mafia. So you will have all these things. What is going to be the impact of this trickle of deserters? I think negligible, if any.
Okay. Kuldeep Khoda Sahab, from the time when you were heading J&K police, was this at all a phenomenon that you came across?
This has been a phenomena which has existed right from early 90s. There may be variation in numbers. It may be slightly more this time. But I would agree with Ajay that this is not something which needs to be, on which one needs to feel worried.
Okay.
Because we have to see the backdrop of the overall situation in the valley. Number one, they are all locals. They are under tremendous social pressure sometimes, and because of many other reasons, perceived excesses or pressures operating from militant ranks.
Yes.
They can get swayed. And then second,
right,
they are picked up from the civilian population. They are mostly untrained, given wherever they get opportunity. Some of them, the numbers are very few in the 30,000 strong SPOs.
Right.
The numbers are very few. And overall, the strength of the force is over 85,000 plus 30,000 SPOs. So the numbers which are deserting this way is just a trickle they have actually done to the force or to their morale or to their operations.
Right.
It is virtually nil because the operations are continuing. The successes are coming regularly in the operations by the army and the police.
Right.
And most of them have been killed within few months of joining the terrorist ranks.
Okay.
So this is not having
gone missing. Some of them have been, in a sense, seized or taken away by these deserters. Is that something which is worrying?
But there is they have not really felt shortage of weapons in the wake of the fact that weapons somehow get trickled across the border, and they keep on coming through various channels.
Right.
The funding is also continuing, and that way, if Pakistan wants, they can keep the pot of militancy boiling, and it is continuing so as long as the base exists in Pakistan. The support in the form of man, material, funding is continuing. We'll have to face this problem, and we'll have to eliminate it, primarily launching anti-terrorist operations within the state, and also taking action against Pakistan on various fronts.
Okay. Now, Vijeta Singh, what we are seeing is a phenomenon which is different to the Davinder Singh story, which is of someone who's a cop who's in a sense gone rogue, who is been caught transporting these terrorists. We still don't know for what exactly. But at the same time, you do have this other phenomenon as well of these police constables, some of them SPOs, who've been sort of deserting the ranks, joining the militant force. We've had Ajay Sani and Kuldeep Khoda saying that this is not something which one needs to get very worried about. But are you getting a sense, speaking to the Home Ministry or intelligence agencies, that this is something that is concerning them, and are they kind of looking at this whole business?
See, I agree to a point that why are we getting surprised, because the terrorist, the alleged Hizbul Mujahideen terrorist militant who was caught with Davinder, he is also a former policeman. He decamped with weapons while he was on duty. So naturally, this has been happening in Kashmir for a while now. The only difference is that this man was not on duty, but was a serving policeman when he was caught with the 2 terrorists and 1 other person in South Kashmir. The other thing is that we have to, the administration and the authorities, they should not stop the buck at Devinder Singh. They should investigate the other cogs in the wheel, because certainly this is not a one man's operation, as it seems to be. He obviously, we don't know yet, but he could have informed his seniors, or maybe he could not have done that. But the reality of this mysterious arrest of Devinder Singh has to be unraveled by.
So, what do you make of it? I mean, again, these are troubling indicators. They perhaps may not be reason for alarm, but these are troubling indicators. I mean, 500 local youths have joined the militancy, which again, he says, marks an increase.
The fact of the matter is that J&K police is in a very difficult situation to some extent. On the one hand, it is in an adversarial relationship often with trust them, as you said in your opening, that there is suspected at times, there are suspicions at times. In fact, when August 5 happened, many J&K police officers in Kashmir, officers and personnel had to deposit their weapons. This is a force that has lost so many people, and at the same time, this force has also been accused of, human rights abuses throughout these 30 years. So this is a very complicated situation. Now, I do agree with Sani Saab and Khoda Saab that these numbers are not that great. They also talk about how Pakistan will continue to do whatever it does. I'm less concerned about what Pakistan is going to do. What I'm more concerned about is what social, they talk about the social pressure on these police officers at these junior levels and all that. What is that social pressure? The social pressure is because society is under pressure. Kashmir is a pressure cooker. People in the rest of the country may not care, do not seem to care, but Kashmiris are living in a pressure cooker situation. Those social pressures are what we must tackle, because where there is injustice, right. think about the association of parents of disappeared people. Thousands of people were disappeared. There were thousands of unmarked graves that were found in Kashmir. Where is, unless we tackle justice, dignity, talking to people, reaching out.
Right.
And by the way, I refuse to believe that everybody is bad in the police and army. I mean, most people are generally good people who are trying to, make a living too.
Yes.
But there are bad people. And unless you tackle those bad people, you will continue to have injustice. And as long as you have injustice, whether it is in Kashmir or you have it in Kanyakumari or in the Northeast, there will be social pressures.
Okay.
And that is what we're seeing in Kashmir. And that is what this government has actually. By the way, one more thing.
Okay, but just hold on. Before it turns political. Hold on.
Since 2013, not political. This is not a political point.
Yeah.
Since 2013, you'll see leaders of J&K police talking about how there are 200 militants in Kashmir. 200 million militants are operating. You just go through the news. 200 militants every time.
Yes.
For 200 militants, you're going to have 7 to 8 million people, and you're going to make them live in a pressure cooker?
Okay.
What nonsense is this?
Okay. Ajay, if one looks at the numbers, again, not very big numbers, but one sees that the uptick begins after 2016, after the unrest. So that seems to have been somewhat of a trigger, both in terms of the sort of disappearance of weapons, as well as these members of the police force joining the militant ranks. So in that sense, is what Salman saying also worth considering, that if you have a situation, a context, which is giving rise to a kind of social unrest, then that fuels this?
I think I'd be a little more explicit about it. He's been gentle in his choice of words. We were down to 99 fatalities in Jammu and Kashmir in 2012.
Right.
99 fatalities in all categories.
In the year?
In the year 2012.
Right.
The recruitment had been reduced to a trickle of a few dozen, not even a few dozen, a dozen in the year.
Right.
Since then, we have had a clearly defined center-led politics of polarization.
Right.
Okay? you have had a clear Hindu-Muslim polarization engineered by first politics and then by government in the prelude to the elections of 2014, and thereafter by the centre constantly. If you kind of push again on data, even with the escalation, we find that an overwhelming proportion of all violence, both stone pelting and terrorism linked fatalities, between 50 and 65% between 2013 2015 2019 has been in just 6 of 82 tehsils in Jammu and Kashmir, 6 of 39 tehsils in the valley alone.
Right.
So it was an extremely localized phenomenon, overwhelmingly fueled by this constant communal, effort to communally polarize people. So I think if you take this out, Kashmir was very much on the mend. It was ripe for what I would describe as constructive political interventions.
Right.
Instead, what we've done is we've destroyed the entire political process.
Right.
We've locked up virtually the entire valley leadership, the mainstream leadership, and we are in a situation where people have no one to talk to.
Right.
When you have no one to talk to, you do, some of us do desperate things.
Right. Khoda Sahab, is that something which is of concern to you as well, that given the kind of pressure cooker situation, it is worsening the gains that were made in the previous years?
You know, the reasons for the increase in number of casualties of security forces or the number of incidents after 2012 are many. One is the political dispensation which took place, which emerged in 2014, which was not to the liking of the people mainly in the valley. And beyond that, the use of social media, the wide use of social media, which led to the communication and spread of the terrorist literature, and the motivation of the youth also started with the use of social media widely.
Right.
The third factor was the emergence of Burhan Wani, which again led to radicalization. He was the first one who openly came on the social media, displaying the arms and not hiding his identity. That gave a sort of some sort of kick to the youth,
right,
who probably thought that they can pick up become something like Burhan Wani. And after his death, yes, there was a lot of increase in the recruitment of the fresh cadres, local youth, into the militant ranks.
But Khoda Sahab,
and
yes. No, I'm saying all those factors, yes, we take those on board. But are you saying that politics had no role to play? I mean, this was a period when, and we all saw this, that there was a lot of vilification and demonization of Kashmiris within the sort of Indian mainstream, whether it was media, whether it was in politics.
I think
you don't think that contributed to this at all?
I think it was the 9 o'clock debates which mainly created a lot of issues in Kashmir and elsewhere also. The demonization was mainly because of that. The politicians play their own games for political reasons,
right,
and people are wise enough to understand that most of the comments are made for political reasons. But yes, the national debates on the media, they contribute to the situation, and they contributed to the radicalization in Kashmir also.
But there was no political engagement. There was no political engagement at all of any significance. And now you've had the longest stint of president's rule, and the state is in a virtual lockdown. Isn't that a recipe for disaster?
You know, exactly. I would like to mention a few points on this issue. The terrorism has seen ups and downs during last 30 years.
Yes.
In 2012, all the indices of terrorism and militancy were at the lowest.
Yes.
And so were certain years.
Okay.
During late 90s, and then after 2001 also there was downtrend in terrorist incidents. But we did not use those opportunities when the terrorism incidents had come down. We did not use the opportunities to stabilize the situation.
Of course. There's a
de-radicalization, the development, they're talking to youth.
There's a long history. There's a long, no one's disputing that, but there are also imminent culpabilities. Very quickly, Ajay, and then I'll go to the others. You wanted to come in?
Yeah, just want to come in with a small thing. You see, it's very easy to blame the media, but it's not anchors who are doing it all. Somebody is coming on the media and pushing these lines of hatred.
Right.
So we have to find out what is the source of these ideas and where is the push coming from.
Okay.
And so the media is a medium.
Okay.
It's not the message. The message is coming from somewhere else. And I would
Vijayta.
take it to the political
Right. Vijayta, you wanted to come in. Yes, Vijayta.
Yeah, it is very simplistic to blame social media and radicalization for whatever, for the recruitments that is happening in Kashmir. But I just wanted to make a point that a battery of union ministers are visiting Jammu and Kashmir right now, like it's ongoing. But none of them have mentioned the revocation of special status of J&K. If it was such a big achievement for the government, why aren't they mentioning it in Jammu and Kashmir?
Right.
The people of which have been affected by the decision.
Right.
And we hear about revocation of special status in rallies in Delhi, but not in Kashmir. Why is that happening?
Okay.
So obviously there is no political connect. They are meeting delegations which are screened by the authorities and administration. They're not meeting the common public. So
Sure.
this has to be addressed.
Okay. Last word from you, Salman. What do you make of, again, I mean, not to exaggerate the report about about police deserters, but what do you make of where we are headed now in the valley? Very briefly.
Well, I don't know. I think to a very dark place because, look, I mean, I just recently wrote that Kashmir in these 5 months, according to the Kashmir Chamber of Commerce, my assessment is that Kashmir has lost 20% of its economic output. Kashmir Valley. We don't have any numbers from Jammu, but remember, Jammu's economy is very closely linked to Kashmir's economy. I'm sure they're suffering too. They are also now wondering why our land and our government jobs are going to be, open to everybody else. And I think that is going to cause crisis too, even in Ladakh. I think the government of India needs to really reach out and, what's this nonsense about people arrest, Umar Abdullah, Mehbooba Mufti, Farooq Abdullah. My father, I hope they're watching on TV right now back home because they do watch Indie TV.
Yes.
My father, they're all in their house arrest. These are people who are top leaders.
Okay.
And now, I mean, what message is going on? And by the way, if you can sense that I'm feeling some pressure.
Yes. Okay.
Kashmiris must be in such a worse situation right now, living there, facing this daily pressure,
right.
Getting nonsense from the rest of the country,
right.
especially from the ruling party and its supporters.
Okay.
This is shameful. We must reverse course.
Okay. All right. And let's hope that does happen. We're out of time completely. Thank you all so much for joining Reality Check and also for watching. That's it. Good night.